States of America. But to do that, we have to empower our law enforcement agents to keep
Mr. Vice
us safe.
President,
you know who we haven't prosecuted? Joe Biden or Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton.
Okay,
unlike Biden's Department of Justice, Kristen, which actually went after Donald Trump in the midst of an election, we are not doing that. We are letting the law drive these decisions. That's exactly as it should be.
Why does Kristen Welker of Meet the Press think she can overpower and interrupt the Vice President of the United States? He's no rookie. He's super experienced. He's dealt with debates. He's dealt with world leaders. And yet she thinks she can intimidate him just by interrupting him. Come on, Kristen. It's Sean Daniel here, filming from Stockholm, Sweden. And if you enjoy these Sunday marathons with all these clips, make sure you hit that like button or subscribe for more. Now let's go. I was about to do the salute like I do at the end of the videos. Nope, not yet, not yet, not yet.
Let's start right there with the peace agreement in the Middle East. President Trump said this week, quote, "We have ended the war in Gaza." Mr. Vice President, do you see this moment as an end to the war in Gaza?
Well, I do, Kristen. We're going to have to do a lot of work to make sure that it stays ended. But I also have to give your network a little bit of grief, Kristen, because last night I was watching NBC. They were covering this, and they mentioned that during a rally last night in Israel, when Steve Witkoff, our great special envoy, mentioned Bibi Netanyahu, the crowd booed. But the broadcast didn't mention that when Steve Witkoff mentioned President Trump, the crowd actually cheered. And why is that, Kristen? Why did the crowd cheer? Because this moment came from very, very deliberate and consequential diplomacy from the president and the entire administration. The reason why we are at this moment, Kristen, is because the president of the United States, he gave unusual authorities to people who had never been in diplomacy before. He actually broke the mold. Instead of doing diplomacy the same old way that it had failed for the past 30 or 40 years, he gave Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner a remarkable amount of authority to go and get a peace deal done. And he worked hard on everybody from the Israelis to the Gulf Arab states to make this happen. This was very hard. This was a long time coming. It required a lot of work. But yes, I believe that we are on the cusp of peace in Gaza for the first time, not just in a couple of years, but really in a very long time, because the President of the United States has done something that no other world leader has been able to do: unite the Israelis with the Gulf Arab states for a common objective, and that is to bring the hostages home, to stop the war, and to build the kind of long-term settlement that we really do believe can lead to a lasting peace.
And of course, we have covered every twist and turn of these negotiations extensively. I do want to ask you about this historic next step, Mr. Vice President, that we are anticipating: the release of the hostages. Can you tell me exactly when are the hostages going to be released? When will we see them?
Well, it really should be any moment now, Kristen. The President of the United States is planning to travel to the Middle East to greet the hostages Monday morning Middle Eastern time, which should be late, Sunday night or very early Monday morning here in the United States. So you can't say exactly the moment they will be released, but we have every expectation. That's why the president is going, that he will be greeting the hostages early next week. It's a monumental thing. It's great, of course, for their families. But I really do think that it shows what happens when you go outside the traditional failed diplomatic routes and actually try something new. It's kind of crazy to me, Kristen, that for our entire history, we've never had a president who's been willing to sit down both with the Gulf Arab states and the Israelis to try to tap some unconventional people to just get a deal done. And I think Americans should be proud of the entire administration. They should be proud of their country, because we've worked so hard to make peace in the Middle East happen, and we are right on the cusp of bringing these hostages home. It'll be a great moment for our country, a great moment for the world. But I really do think the lesson here is that Donald Trump refused to go down the failed traditional diplomatic pathway. He cut his own Trump diplomatic pathway, and because of that, it was successful.
You got to give it to J.D. Vance. He's a polished guy who knows how to bring home a messaging, and it makes a lot of sense. Trump has done a lot of unique things with trying to get negotiations done, and when you're innovative and you try something new, sometimes special things can happen. And if you're 65 and older and you're maybe frustrated or confused and looking to try something new with your Medicare options, especially as this open enrollment period is coming very soon, you can give a call to my partner chapter for free, and they'll help you review your plans and your options for Medicare. And if you're already on the best plan for you, they'll let you know. But if there's a better plan out there for you, they'll also let you know, because on average, they help people save $1,100 per year after advising them. You can give them a call at 786-619-1152 or visit the link down below. Now let's see how much Kristen Welker pushes back on our boy JD.
Let me ask you about what we can anticipate from the United States. NBC News is reporting that the U.S. military is preparing options to deploy as many as 200 troops to Israel to support the flow of humanitarian aid and security assistance into Gaza. Can you guarantee that no U.S. troops will ever be sent directly into Gaza, Mr. Vice President?
Yeah, Kristen, so that report actually missed something. We're not planning to put boots on the ground. What we already have is a U.S. Central Command. We already have people in that region of the world. They're going to monitor the terms of the ceasefire. They're going to monitor, ensure the humanitarian aid is flowing. They actually confirmed yesterday that Israel pulled back to the agreed upon lines, which of course is the first condition. The second condition, or the second term, is for the hostages to be released. So we have people in that region of the world who are going to monitor parts of this peace proposal, but the president is not planning to put boots on the ground in Israel.
What about Gaza? Will U.S. troops ever be sent into Gaza? Just yes or no?
That's what I mean, Kristen. He is not planning to put boots on the ground in Gaza or Israel.
Okay.
We're going to have Central Command troops that are already there that are going to monitor this peace proposal. We've actually had, and this is one of the great successes of the president's diplomacy, from Indonesia to the Gulf Arab states.
Okay.
We've had a number of Muslim majority countries offer to step up and have them put troops on the ground to secure Gaza. It's not going to be necessary for American troops to be in Gaza.
Now that's good news, because we don't want U.S. soldiers having to go deal with these Israel issues. Israel can fight its own battles. Gaza can have its own thing set up. We don't need U.S. soldiers in there to deal with this problem.
Okay, I do want to turn to the big news here back at home, the ongoing government shutdown. I want to play you a little bit of what President Trump had to say about shutdowns past when Barack Obama was president. Take a look.
If there is a shutdown, I think it would be a tremendously negative mark on the President of the United States.
They're not going to be talking who the head of the House was, the head of the Senate. I really think the pressure is on the president.
If you were president, what would you do?
Well, very simply, you have to get everybody in a room. You have to be a leader. The president has to lead. You have to get the people in a room, and you have to get a deal.
Mr. Vice President, by President Trump's own calculus, the pressure is on him to get everyone into a room and get a deal, is it not?
Oh, you got to give it to these liberal news organizations. They are good, man. The teams they have to find dirt, to find old clips from over 10 years ago, to paint the president in a bad way and use his own words against him. You got to give it to him. It's impressive.
Well, Kristen, I wouldn't focus on the political pressure to get a deal. We really don't care what the poll numbers say.
But what about what President Trump said?
What's good for the
What
American
about what
people.
Mr. Trump said, his own words?
Well, Kristen, the president was talking back then when Barack Obama was president about the political realities. We are focused now on the governing realities because we're in power and we're trying to make the American people's government work for the American people, despite the fact that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have shut down the government.
Yeah.
We have to step back and remember, Kristen, that there is a clean bill to open the United States government. The vast majority of Republicans and even a few moderate Democrats voted to open the government, but it's Chuck Schumer and the far left of Senate Democrats who have prevented this government from reopening. Now, you talk about negotiation. We're happy to negotiate about any matter. We're happy to talk about health care policy, but not while the government is being held hostage, Christian. This is not abstract. This is not something that's pie in the sky. There are low-income women and children who will not get the food benefits they need to feed their families unless we reopen the government. We're trying to figure out how to pay our troops in the midst of this shutdown to keep our country safe and to make sure that our troops get their payments. We have got to reopen the government, and the president is committed to this. In fact, we've got a bill in the House that already passed the House. We want to make sure that that bill passes the Senate, but not so long as Chuck Schumer allows the entire country to be hijacked by a few far-left senators.
Mr. Vice
What do you guys think of that polished answer by J.D. Vance trying to pin it on the Democrats? I think he's really well-mannered with a lot of things that he says, and there's this whole political game going back and forth on whose fault it is, whose fault it's not. It's always going to happen with a government shutdown. And also, what do you guys think about Trump willing to fire federal workers as a negotiation tactic and then blame it on the Democrats?
Mr. Vice President, we still have a lot to get to. You are in power, and the administration has begun layoffs of thousands of federal workers. And yet, during the 2019 shutdown under the first Trump administration, which lasted 35 days, no federal workers were laid off. Why are these firings necessary?
Well, I just think it shows the different priorities of Democrats and Republicans in the midst of these shutdowns. You really have to ask yourself, who do we care more about? Federal bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., or low-income women getting the food benefits they deserve, our troops getting the payment they need, flood insurance across the Southeast in the midst of hurricane season?
But laying people off is a priority?
We are going to have to lay off some federal workers. Kristen, if you would let me finish, we have to lay off some federal workers in the midst of this shutdown to preserve the essential benefits for the American people that the government does provide. So we don't want to be in this situation. We don't want to be laying off federal workers, but the Democrats have shut down the government. They have forced us to choose between American citizens and federal bureaucrats. We're choosing the benefits, the critical services that benefit our American citizens.
If you guys can explain to me the logic of why they want to lay off federal workers, please do down in the comments, because on the surface, I really don't understand it unless it's a massive negotiation tactic to get the Democrats back. I don't know the details on which federal workers they want to get rid of. If anybody knows, please let me know down below.
All right, almost out of time. A couple more questions left, though. Let me ask you, of course, there's a major legal battle underway about the administration's deployment of the National Guard. It does come as NBC News is reporting that the administration has been seriously discussing invoking the Insurrection Act. That would give the president the power to direct federal troops to conduct law enforcement functions in the case of a national emergency. Is that the case? Are you seriously considering invoking the Insurrection Act?
Well, the president's looking at all of his options. Right now, he hasn't felt he needed to, but we have to remember, why are we talking about this, Kristen? Because crime has gotten out of control in our cities, because our ICE agents, the people who are enforcing our immigration laws, have faced a 1,000% increase in violent attacks against them. We have people right now who are going out there, who are doing the job the president asked them to do, who are enforcing our immigration laws. They're being assaulted, they're being beaten, they're being shot at. The problem here is not the Insurrection Act or whether we actually invoke it or not. The problem is the fact that the entire media in this country, cheered on by a few far-left lunatics, have made it okay to tee off on American law enforcement. We cannot accept that in the United States of America. We want everybody, black or white, rich or poor, to be safe in the United States of America. But to do that, we have to empower our law enforcement agents to keep us safe. That's what we're talking about doing.
Couple of points here. First of all, an Illinois judge said that state and local authorities have been able to handle protest activity, that ICE, that other federal agencies have been able to continue to do their work. Crime is down in both Chicago and Portland, but is there a rebellion here? That's what would trigger an Insurrection Act. Is it imminent?
Kristen, crime is down in Chicago and Portland often because they're so overwhelmed at the local level, they're not even keeping the statistics properly. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had an ICE office get shot at by a far-left assassin who was trying to kill our law enforcement officers. He fortunately didn't kill law enforcement officers. He did kill some other innocent people in the process. We cannot allow the far left in this country to tee off on our law enforcement officers. We've got to do something about it. And that's all the president's talking about. I mean, there are places in Chicago, Kristen, where people are afraid to take their children. They're afraid to go out of their houses for fear of gun violence, for fear of gang drive-by shootings. That's not okay in the United States of America. The president just wants people to be kept safe, and we're exploring everything that we can do to make sure that the American people are safe in their own country.
She's trying hard to cut him off because he's making great points. You can't necessarily trust the statistics if the police departments are totally overrun. And why wouldn't these liberal cities want help from federal officers? And also, why does the FBI or any other federal organization that comes in and works in a city, why don't they face backlash, and then that backlash is defended by the liberal media? It's only with ICE. It's not fair. And it's not a sin as a president to look at the options you have with the Constitution to execute your powers that have been given to you by the American people that voted you in. They want to create this fear dome for all of us that the president is looking at possibly using the Insurrection Act and how illegal that is. He's just looking at his options. I'm sure he's talking to a ton of lawyers about things that he can do. People act like the president just has these random people that say, yes, sir, do this, do this, do this. Like he doesn't have the best of the best at his disposal on his cabinet that have gone to school, that have done internships, that have committed themselves with this big dream to get to these big places in politics. And they've shown how qualified they are so they can get to the White House. And now they're giving everything they can to perform at the top level so they can keep this dream job and keep this dream power, opportunities, connections. The media acts like that's not going on with the president's staff.
Mr. Vice President, we are almost out of time, about 30 seconds left. Of course, NBC News is covering and has confirmed that President Trump's social media post last month calling for his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to prosecute his political opponents, James Comey, Letitia James, and Adam Schiff, was actually meant to be a private message. Both Comey and James have now been indicted. Is the Department of Justice acting on orders from the president to prosecute his political opponents with the final 30 seconds we have left?
No, we're driven by the law and the facts of the case. I think if you look at the case, the fact that a far-left grand jury in a far-left area indicted Letitia James and James Comey, if you look at the fact that James Comey obviously lied under oath, Letitia James obviously committed mortgage fraud, what we're doing is letting the law drive the prosecution decisions in the Department of Justice. You know who we haven't prosecuted? Joe Biden or Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton.
Okay,
unlike Biden's Department of Justice, Kristen, which actually went after Donald Trump in the midst of an election, we are not doing that. We are letting the law drive these decisions. That's exactly as it should be.
Mr. Vice President, just staying on this president, though, my question for you, is the appearance of pressure a problem? The fact that he has publicly called for these indictments and now they have happened, does that not blur the lines?
No, Kristen, I think that we continue to allow the law to drive these decisions. If the law didn't necessitate an investigation and a prosecution in this case, it wouldn't happen. Of course, the president is allowed to have opinions about the law enforcement of the federal government. He is the chief executive officer of the federal government. Him having opinions doesn't mean that we prosecute people unless we have the legal justification to do so. That is the guiding light of the Trump administration's Department of Justice. Did somebody break the law? If so, we're going to prosecute them.
All right, we covered a lot of ground today. Vice President J.D. Vance, thank you.
JD can't say it, but yes, it is political, what is it, retribution, she called it? Payback? That's what it is. Now, did they break the law? Is Trump looking into it? Is he telling the FBI and top people over there, hey, you better look into it, and if they have something, we're going after them? Of course. And do we care, Kristen? No, we don't. We want them to go after these people. We assume, allegedly, keeping my legal basis safe, that they've done some messed up stuff just on the surface level stuff that we know. So, but J.D. Vance can't say that. But if he did, boy, would we be hyped. But we understand, J.D. We understand where you're at, being in the VP position, what you can and can't say. It's Sean Daniel here. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see J.D. Vance go after another liberal host this Sunday and defeat their ridiculous claims, check out this video right here where Margaret Brennan gets schooled by our VP. I'll see you there.